today we are talking about what, Stephen?
Data and data collection.
And how to organize and segment that data so you can actually find it easier later and also
Speaking of easy, why don't we just say clean up data?
Clean up your data, right? Because I know that a lot of you out there, only because I deal with this every day, the data is just contacts us. So everything's just thrown together in one thing, all mixed up and hardly organized.
Welcome to the Follow-Up Genius Show, a show dedicated to helping real estate agents find their fortune in follow-up by creating stronger relationships, generating more referrals, and converting more leads. Hosted by Wesley Rocha, founder and CEO of LinkU, and Stephen Groders, real estate entrepreneur and high-performance coach. Follow us at followupgenius.net.
And if you want to send an email or something to everyone or contact them or create a list that you could call, it's like, I'll just do that later. So it never happens.
And they all do. The funny thing is every once in a while I get to talk to one of your clients on the phone, and they build this moat up around their data, and they don't do anything with the data.
Right.
Like, it blows me away.
They literally built, they're like, the moat is built.
Around their data.
They are like, oh, I'm on the outside.
Now, what do I do with the data?
And I'm not going to swim through that to
what do I do
deal with it. Right.
Right.
So it just sits there, all collected.
So,
but yeah, so that's what the show's about. It's about collecting data, organizing it, and all that. And if you have a bunch of data sitting around, contacts, whatever, unorganized, and I know you do, then you definitely don't want to miss this show.
For sure. So why do you want to collect data? And why do you want to collect as much data as you possibly can? It's because we as real estate professionals, we don't have anything to sell when we retire. I mean, for God's sakes, if you're a great listing agent, you can sell a lot of your signs and open house writers and all that.
Right.
But at
your
the end of the
exit
day,
plan.
it's your exit plan should be your data and how you clean it up. It really
Exactly.
should be.
So bad data in, bad data out sort of thing. What you put in, what you get out.
Right.
And yeah, so
what we're going to talk about today really is, like you said, what to do with the data. But I want to talk about first, before we get going, is give everybody a history lesson on where we're at with data. You know, most agents, most Americans don't understand what the 4 major industrial revolutions are in our country. And we're just going to go over them really, really quick so you get and understand the importance of data.
makes
right?
sense. Right. So 4 industrial revolutions that have basically
changed
the future of the America and well, the world really. And what is that 4th one? So we'll get
there. So
the
very first industrial revolution was in, I think, the 1700s.
Okay.
And it was the invention of steam energy. You know what came from steam energy? Choo-choo train. Right?
Choo-choo sound.
Choo-choo sound. Well, that's where it is hot
Right.
steam going through the thing. How did the train change the complexity of our country? Great American Gold Rush, Great American Land Rush. Now we got a way to move people all across the country,
Right. And
without
things.
horse and wagon, right?
Yeah.
So what's the second industrial revolution?
No clue.
You don't have a clue? Okay, you put gas in it every day. It was the invention of the combustible engine.
Okay.
So what came from the combustible engine?
You got cars, you got trucks.
Yeah, that's what
Any
produced
kind of
mass
motors,
production,
right?
Automobiles,
Factories,
right?
things like that.
I'm going to leave the third one to you because you kind of know this one. So what is the third? 1969, by the way.
The third one is electronics. Electronics in all forms: microwaves, fax machines, computers, those big mainframes they used to have, all
Internet.
that stuff, and then communication. That would be through like kind of the beginnings of the internet.
Yep.
Being able to transfer data that way, and
Right.
yeah, that was huge. Obviously, revolutionized everything that we have now, as I feel like in that internet age.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of people think the internet came about like in 1992, 93. 1992, 93, 94, 95. It actually came around in like 60s.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
We were just talking about it earlier. I remember when I went to get my driver's license. I'm a few decades older than you are. I wanted to get to my driver's license. I had to take a phone, and they shoved it on these two little mount things. And I said to the lady, like, what are you doing? She said, well, these two screens, one's in Michigan. They're going to talk to each other and check you out. I'm like, wow, that's scary.
So the beginnings
But the
of the
government
internet.
used that for
the internet.
forever and ever. Why don't you share with everybody the fourth one?
The fourth. Well, I'll let you
Hold
share
on
the
a
fourth
second.
one.
Just be, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
This is the reason why we're doing the show. The fourth one is we're currently in it
Okay.
right now. And it builds up upon some of the things that we're experiencing. Many of us have Amazon in our house. Many of us have Hulu. All these different forms of buying stuff, right? The fourth major industrial revolution, Wes, is data collection. And how we're using data, it's all based on how our behaviors. Automated intelligence is really, we talked a little bit about this in Accelerator this morning, how AI is actually helping take over with follow-up.
Right. So we're looking at data, and just to kind of give you some insight there, what you got to look at is Google, Facebook,
Instagram.
but those are some of the bigger ones.
Bigger platforms.
And then everything that's been happening with that data, how that data was used, to what they say is like potentially influence elections, how they do that.
If you've ever watched the documentary Cambridge Analytics, we'll never, ever, ever have.
What was the name of that? It was on Netflix. I don't remember the name of it.
I don't know. We'll put it in the notes after the show because we'll find it's a great documentary. It's scary as hell. It makes you want to go get a flip phone.
And tells you how that data is being basically used
to manipulating our behavior.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the reason why we wanted to talk about the 4 industrial revolutions, is because we're currently in the fourth one, and it's so very, very, very important that we understand what we do with our data in databases. It's been so cliche for many, many years. Your database, your SOI, your sphere of influence. We were just talking about it. People build a moat around it, and they don't do anything with it, right? So again, why did we want to tell you about the 4 industrial revolutions? So you can really understand the importance of data collection. How to manage it, how to clean it up, how to segment it. Your database, Wes, and you know this because you've got a massive database. That's your most valuable asset that you have.
Right.
Your data, also known as your database, right? So Wes, why don't you share with everybody what is data and how do we look at that data?
Okay, well, basically in this case, in this scenario, we're particularly talking about the data as far as an asset, and that would be, for example, your contacts.
Yep.
That might be people who, if you don't have their contact details, that could be something like pixeling people. So if you've seen the webinar or seen anything about the retargeting, if you haven't seen the webinar, you should check it out. It goes into like pixeling and using that data to basically
most people
retarget.
don't know what retargeting is.
Right.
Just for those who don't know, it's those creepy ads that follow you around.
Yeah, so you shop for something, and now you start seeing that stuff around on everywhere, and that's basically retargeting. So, but that's a type of data, and so that is something that people or companies are building, and then obviously your contact database.
Right.
That's what we're focusing on today, are those things, and how you can essentially use that data. Right. Unfortunately, what happens is a lot of that data gets, I guess, lost. A lot of people don't know, like, okay, what data should I keep? What data is worth it? Sometimes they just figure, I'll just keep my past clients and maybe some of these obvious leads, and then everyone else doesn't really make it into the database.
True.
That's if they have a database.
Well, yeah, everybody should have a database. For God's sakes, if you open up your phone, there's 250 there's 250 names in there.
That's basically what I'm saying. Well, that's a lot of people's databases are phone. Like, how many of you out there, like, your data is in your phone, which, I mean, I'd argue is not a very good place.
No, and
for
what they don't realize is
that.
they can create a CSV file and upload it into a
Sure.
CRM and clean the thing
But
up.
how, like, you're not in your phone, like, categorizing people as buyers and sellers and past clients, right?
I do. I can show you.
But most people don't.
Well,
they just
again,
add them in.
It's understanding what to do with the data
Right.
once you get it. Look at data as like right now, and I just made this up as we're sitting here. Look at data as money, right? So if let's say you go to an open house, you get a real name, but you get a fake phone number and you get a fake email address, that's $1. because you can get that name. You can go into Fetch and White Pages, and you can figure out who they are, right?
Sure.
If somebody gives you a name and an email address, that's probably a $5 bill. If somebody gives you a name, email address, and a good phone number, that's a $20 bill, right? Start looking as data as that. Every name I get's worth $1, right? Every name and email I get's worth $5 or $10, and every name, address, email address, I get $20. And just start collecting as much of it as you possibly can.
Yeah, it's a good way to think of it, for sure. And then the other thing, too, to keep in mind is once you have, as people are collecting this data, either they're not putting it somewhere or they're putting it somewhere in their phone. I mean, that's okay. But ideally, you really should have a CRM, right? I mean,
I agree.
I
agree.
You're not really going to run your business off your phone. That's very restrictive, especially once you start growing. There are limitations to your contact database in your phone, obviously. But I know people put them in Excel, on paper, in
3x5 cards.
Yeah, and not
Notepad.
necessarily. So definitely, I would say the first step of all of this with data would be step one: get a CRM of some kind, right? Or start using the one that you have.
Yeah, or something to collect it and to store it.
Yeah.
Our team. You hear me talk about this all the time. We have 4 different CRMs. You don't need just one today. So how you segment and clean up that database is all going to depend on how you input it, right? How you input it into the system. And that's one of the things that we wanted to talk to you about. Depending on your business plan and how you operate your business, teams are really relevant now, right? If you're a solo agent, this is probably the way you should segment your database. Is buyer, friends, family in one category. I like to put my friends, family, and vendors into one category because we market those differently than we do someone who's cold.
Right, yeah. So friends and family.
Vendors. Even vendors.
Yeah, that's a separate category.
Separate. No, we put it inside of friends and family. Because the people we're doing business with, like the termite guy, the home inspector, they're friends now. And they're kind of family.
Maybe. But I would separate them.
Well, you can.
Why not?
However, it depends on how you run your business and how you want that data segmented. Right. So if you're, again, solo agent.
Actually, I would put family, friends. I'd like to be a little more granular.
You can.
So family, friends, vendors, agents.
Buyers.
Yeah, buyer. Well, then those start getting the tags, I guess.
Yeah, we'll go over that in a second.
So just to keep in mind, what is the difference between categories and tags? Depending on the CRM you're using, some may let you do multiple categories. But generally, I like to look at categories as the overarching thing. So that might be past clients,
right,
or buyers and sellers, or leads, or things like that. SOI, whatever. It should be the main level, top level category, and then subcategory or subcategories, which could be multiple things, generally fall into where you use your tags.
Yeah.
And so that's where you start marking them. Well, this is a family member, or this is a friend, or this is a from the school, the teacher, or whatever. Maybe zip codes that they're interested in.
I think zip codes are important when it comes to tagging.
So anything where you feel like later at some point you want to be able to have that data at your fingertips at a drop of a hat within seconds, where you go and this is where I like the CRM. It gets a little more difficult you can do it in Excel, but you might as well fork out
those solo
a few
agents out there.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere and use something.
CRM's cheap. There's no excuse. There's no excuse not to have a CRM at
Yours
this point.
Yours is free.
Well, yeah, it comes with it. But there's so many CRMs out there that to start with something, there's no excuse to not buy a CRM, seeing that it is like your POS for your business. So a restaurant has
POS is point of sale.
Yeah, point of sale. So every business has a system, a computer system, where they put their customer information. So why is it that, imagine you go into a store, you go into anywhere, and they're trying to find your information in an Excel spreadsheet? Really?
Right.
Because they don't want to spend $10 a month? That's ridiculous. Okay.
I agree with that.
So anyway, the point is, though, the tagging,
excuse me.
You can have as many tags as you want. You can tag people how you want. and then you could tag them with all the different, like you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, if we got a property that comes for sale in Granville, all we got to do is go hashtag 49418. Everybody in our database in 49418 pops up. And it's, we've talked about this. Did you know is probably one of the greatest opening lines for any form of marketing. Did you know a house is for sale in your neighborhood? And by segmenting and tagging your database and cleaning it up in that fashion, it's just going to help amplify your business in the long run. So I agree. Get yourself a CRM. You don't need you
don't need anything
one.
super
You don't need
fancy to
anything
start,
fancy,
right? So you get a CRM,
Mm-hmm.
you put your data in there, and then how does this okay? So I know a lot of people out there. You have your data. Okay. I'm going to take this down. I'm going to put in a CRM, and where do I start? Where do you start as far as your
by cleaning
little
the data
by little?
up.
Okay.
Right? By cleaning the data up is where you start, right? How many times do we hear during the day when someone calls in here, yeah, I'm trying to figure out this Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube ad, and they spend like 6 hours trying to figure it out, and they do it wrong anyways?
Right.
Why not take that 6 hours and go through your database and clean it up?
Yeah.
That's where I would spend my time if I was a real estate professional who practiced full time, is spend time cleaning up the database.
Yeah, it's just not a fun thing to do, so people tend to put it off.
Either are
but
open
it's
houses,
so
but they do 'em every
important.
Sunday.
Yeah, like you should literally be sitting there, like category, okay, this, and then start with maybe your A list.
Yeah.
Who's your A list?
Who can you borrow $100 or $500 from?
So there can be
That's
most
your
of your
A list.
family, friends, people who are super close.
Not my family.
But typically, right? And
Right.
then you move down to your B list or whatnot.
Your B list.
People who maybe past clients who maybe you're not super close, but should be keeping in
Should
touch
be.
with.
Your SOI. If you had your SOI in the right stream of income, if you had your SOI cleaned up, it's real simple to do coffee campaigns, drop-by campaigns. The biggest issue you get here is people send that database in on a big old, here.
Yeah, several
Run
lists.
me the magic
Yep.
ad. Can you run me the magic ad real quick? And magic ads. There's no such thing as a shiny object to a commission check these days. For sure.
Right. Okay, so now they get their data, they're putting in a database, they've got their CRM, they start spending a little by little, they start organizing it, right? So it's not something that generally you'll have time to do. Like most of you aren't going to set 3 days aside to do it. And some of them may want to take that long depending on your list. So if
Well,
you do just a couple hours a week, or
I think if they understand the importance of it,
they might set aside a
they
day.
might set aside a day
Right.
to work in their business or
on the
their
business,
instead of
right?
in
Get
it
the
every
data
day.
right.
Right.
Okay, so now they have their data right. And why is this all important? Well, we mentioned a little bit about the exit strategy. So let's kind of close out with that. The
Well, what
exit
do you
strategy.
do? Well, okay, let's talk about what we do with
why
the
is
data
this so
first.
important?
What?
The
What
data.
The data?
Organizing it. How does that have anything to do with?
Well, the number one thing as a realtor, you should be prospecting all the time.
Sure.
Right. And then with the automation, especially your automation, if your database is segmented and cleaned up in a really, really, really kick-ass way, you can run specific campaigns based on how you met this piece of data. A lot of agents call it a lead. I call it a contact,
Sure.
piece of data, right? If it's segmented and cleaned up, now you can run specific ads targeted to that database. Because marketing today is not about
Yeah.
roll the dice, spray and pray like it used to be. It's more about chucking a dart at the dartboard.
Or if you're going to call them,
They don't do that.
well, assuming you're call them, email, text, or using a system like ours, the LinkU follow-up system,
Yep.
then you know what type of campaign to send to them.
Yeah, that's
Otherwise, they're all
important.
mixed together. You're just not going to have. You can still have success. Don't get me wrong. It's just not going to be as high impact as it could have been if they were all organized.
Yeah, and you're going to get those people like, who was that? Take me off your list.
Yeah, you get more of those.
You get a lot of them if it's not cleaned up.
Yeah. So,
But the clients that you work with who have their database cleaned up, they're the ones that are killing it.
oh yeah,
You
But-
know?
just for clarity, it could still work without the organization. It's just because I know
It's
most of
not
them
near
don't.
as powerful.
Just not as powerful as it could be.
It's like running an ad on Facebook, right?
Yeah, if you didn't target it right.
If you didn't target it right, you're going to have some success. But if you do target it the right way, you're going to crush
I
it.
think that's a perfect example.
Well, thank
exactly
you.
like that. Any
Thank
kind of
you.
advertising we're targeting versus
Right.
not targeting.
And it's track and measure, right? And so
Sure.
many agents don't track or measure their data, right? I would bet out of the few hundred people who are going to be on this show, I bet maybe 1% of them can tell me what it costs per lead, per open door, per closing. If you buy in Zillow leads in West Michigan, I was pointing at Junie, sorry. In West Michigan, it's $175 per click.
Yeah,
It's
you need to know the
600
numbers
It's $650 to
We
open
should do an
a
episode on that.
door.
and then tie it all together.
And it's $1,500 to close a deal with Zillow. We will
Right.
at the end of the day, but we got to start somewhere because most of our industry is under attack. You hear me say this all the time. The reasons why it's under attack because there are a bunch of lazy people out there, right? We've done this to ourselves. We really have. There's a fortune in the follow-up. It's cliche, but it works if you just do it. And if you don't have your database cleaned up, you can follow up a million ass ways, but it's not going to help you if you're soliciting someone who sold you, who you sold a house from 10 years ago, because they're not going to remember you.
Yeah,
More
if
than
you
likely,
didn't
they're
keep
gonna
in
move,
touch
right?
that whole time. Yeah, they've already moved to another agent.
I'd still keep in touch with them though, or try.
You should. I mean, it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other thing too that leads into is that if you're trying to build a business, not necessarily a job, by having the database, you had touched on it earlier. You were talking about no one's just going to buy a bunch of signs and a bunch of office equipment. Like that's not important, right? You can buy that on OfferUp
Easily.
or LetGo or eBay or something.
Right.
What they're looking for is a real business with some systems and processes, and ultimately a database that they know, okay, well, if you have this database, I know that there's deals in there, right?
NAR
And
tells us 10% of your database moves every year. 10%.
Right. So if you have that data scattered and, I have some on my phone and that's like, there goes your deal. There's no exit there.
There is. But
I have some on my
one.
phone and I have some on my email, and then I got some in the spreadsheet, and then I got this other CRM. And when was the last time you updated it? Well, I haven't really, like, that's a typical busy, just not thinking about it, just trying to, do business. And those things kind of get forgotten about, but
It gets put to the side.
yeah, it gets put to the side.
for sure.
Yeah. Or
Because
kicked down the road.
you hear us, we talk about it all the time. The number one distraction in real estate is distraction,
Right.
right? So why don't we just learn to take care of those distractions and spend a little bit of time in our database, because it's so valuable. It is.
Right. Okay.
So
Well, anyway, we are about out of time for the show now.
Yeah.
And I think if you've taken anything away, it's, oh my God, I need to go organize my data right now after I watch this, hopefully.
they should anyway.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Right?
Or at least set some time aside this weekend. So put that on your calendar, go through your database, start organizing and tagging and all that stuff. If you don't have a system to use, heck, you could use ours. It's called
Give it a
LinkU. It's called LinkU, and it comes with the ultimatefollowupmachine.com, so you can check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're using a CRM, that's great too. Just use it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, that is all for us today on Follow Up Genius. Now, listen, we've made some mentions here. We're going to have the Follow Up Genius show notes. Those will be available in the Facebook group. But to get in the group, get the show notes and anything of the other special extras or downloads or anything mentioned in the show, just go to followupgenius.net and join. It's completely free. It costs nothing to become a Follow Up Genius member. So you'll join there. You'll find the notes. Get in the group where we share weekly tips and whatnot on
Strategies.
different follow-up strategies. And also so you could know about when the next episode's posting, when the recording of this episode's posting, stuff like that.
Yeah, we're going to
And-
start sharing too. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We're going to start sharing content that we use for marketing once or twice a week.
Okay.
In your group. I
Great.
mean, we've talked about it, and it's just a matter of scheduling it, because you know what my goal is at the end of the day. It's to change the experience on the front end for the consumer. Plain
Yep.
and simple. And the only way you can do that is you have to be great at service.
Exactly.
Plain and simple. And follow
So
up.
that is all. Followupgenius.net. Join that. And then again, if you need a CRM or you need some kind of system to help you need help getting that together, then the ultimatefollowupmachine.com. That's my product, so I will plug it all the
works.
time.
And I'm an ambassador for the product, so it does work if you use it That's the whole key, Wes, is you got to use it.
Of
Follow
course.
Up. Follow up.
So go out there, organize your stuff, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Sounds
See you
good.
later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Follow Up Genius Show. Get the show notes and discover our fantastic bonus member-only content when you become a Follow Up Genius member. Join today free at followupgenius.net. Follow Up Genius Show is sponsored by LinkU.